Thanks for joining us here at 6. I'm Justin Betty. Tonight we are learning more about a deadly 4th of July shooting in Grand Forks. One man now officially charged with murder. Valley News Team's Gabriel Osler dug into the court documents today and joins us now live in studio. Gabriel, what did you find out?
Yeah, Justin, Grand Forks was in the festive spirit earlier in the day, enjoying celebrations at Sertoma Park. But come the early evening, tragedy struck. Grand Forks police say they arrived at Sledster's Food and Brew shortly before 7:30 p.m. That's right in the heart of the historic downtown district. It's barely 2 blocks away from the Sorley Memorial Bridge that separates North Dakota and Minnesota. When police got to the scene, they found the victim, James Erwin Jorgensen, on the ground with multiple gunshot wounds. Life-saving efforts were unfortunately not effective. Jorgensen died right there at the scene. Well, police apprehended their suspect, Nicholas John Narverson, just a short time later and really not far away. The documents say he was arrested in the 300 block of Demers Avenue, which is literally just around the corner from Sledster's. Witnesses inside the Sledster's said they saw Narverson take out a handgun and fire multiple rounds at Jorgensen. Narverson is now being held on charges of murder, terrorizing, reckless endangerment, and criminal mischief. Now, I personally was unable to find anything in the way of a digital footprint for Narverson, save a Facebook page last updated in 2014. And of course, Grand Forks Police has not released anything in the way of a motive or of a connection between Narverson and the victim. So for now, we're just looking at a shocking act of violence that leave many still seeking answers. Valley News Live will keep you updated as we receive those answers. Justin?